I'm unstoppable. I'm a Porsche with no brakes. I'm invincible. Yeah, I win every single game. I'm so powerful. I don't need batteries to play. I'm so confident. Yeah, I'm unstoppable today. Unstoppable today. Unstoppable today. I'm unstoppable today.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. That was great.
Thank you.
Painless. Did somebody practice? What's going on?
No, absolutely not.
No.
I'm not going to quit my full-time career for singing this.
You guys are both playing hooky from the office, from the site?
Yes.
Yeah?
Absolutely. My dad said, take your mom, go do this podcast, and we'll see you when we get back.
How many family members are there? What are we talking about? True mom and pop shop.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, well, we have 4 kids, but 2 are actively involved in the business.
Okay, all right. The other 2 are hanging out.
They went their own way.
Okay, good, good. All right. Well, we're gonna have a very good talk. I want to talk about trim, and I'm glad that you guys didn't bring any MDF. Basically, leave it at that, right? Right for now, because I'm not a huge fan of MDF. Anybody who listens to the show, I'm not a fan of it. I'm a poplar guy through and through. I will always be poplar or any other woods that are what you'd probably need to do trim work for. That's who I am, right? And I always fight that battle with clients whenever I can. I should. I think a lot of tradespeople should do as well, right? So,
absolutely.
Let me share the information. Royal Door and Trim Supplies. Rosemary and Jordan are here. www.royaldoor.ca. You can reach them at rosemary@royaldoor.ca, and on social media, of course, IG under Royal_Door_LTD, and then also find them on Facebook, Pinterest. What else?
As well as
TikTok?
Facebook.
Yeah? No?
No TikTok.
No. Okay.
We don't know if it's coming or going.
Yeah.
So
it's an animal, you feed it and wonder if it's going to come and take care of you one day or something, do something. That's how I look at it, right? That's how I look at a lot of social media these days. But, okay, let's get started. I want to figure out if you guys can share a little bit about the history, about how it all got started, the beginning of it, and then we'll work our way through the calendar kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
The company was started by my father-in-law, Floriano Cescolini, in 1975. He had left the construction industry. He was looking for an entrepreneurial opportunity, and he was a master artisan from Italy in woodworking. So he decided to start a door company because he saw a great need in the market, and started with a small shop, Craftsman.
Whereabouts?
In Vaughan on Bowes Road.
Okay.
And one thing my father-in-law had to do was hire people and train them because he suffered from a disease called Meniere's.
Oh, okay.
And that causes an imbalance in fluid in the brain where you lose your hearing. You are subjected to, say, vomiting, and you are not able to actually properly work on anything. So that was one of the reasons why he stopped working in construction. His episodes would get more severe and dramatic, so he still needed to feed his family. And so he decided to open up a shop, and when he was feeling well, he would make doors. And he started with 5 styles, cedar, and the Portuguese and Italian community in Toronto loved the doors because this is the one with the actual carvings, and you still see them down in the city, right?
College, Dufferin,
absolutely,
yeah.
And the way he started was he approached retailers like New Canadians Lumber, Downtown Lumber. They were immigrant owned as well. They were Portuguese.
Spoke the language, like.
Exactly.
Construction language, yeah.
Right, and they were very welcoming in the fact that they wanted to help immigrants with business ideas and products and promote it in their stores. So he just walked in there and said, "Hey, I got some cedar doors," and the guy said, "Well, you know what? Leave them here, and if you sell them, if they're sold, come by next week, grab your money, and I'll put in a new order." So
and they sold, I bet, fast.
And they sold.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
That was what, 75?
In 1975, yeah.
How was it for him to start a new supply business in 75? Was it easy? Was it difficult?
You want me to?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I remember stories of my grandfather telling me when he started, and exactly to what my mother said. He talked about loading up his Datsun pickup truck I had to clarify what a Datsun was. And, I wasn't born in that time, so he told me it was a Nissan.
Yeah.
And he'd load it up and he'd go, as my mom said, shop to shop. But he said the biggest challenge is whenever you start a new business, you don't know if you're doing it right. You put together a door.
You have nobody to ask if you're doing it right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things he had to learn was trying to get the cedar door together before the glue dried, because once the glue dried on the mortise and tenon, you couldn't move it. So coming up with new machinery, talking to other immigrants that have gone through the same process and have started businesses, where to get machinery, I think that was the hardest thing he had to start with. But it was a different age. People were really willing to give newcomers a chance to try. Nowadays with these box stores, there's good luck getting into them. You couldn't have done that back in the day. So you
don't think so?
I think it's, we do still sell to home hardwares and retailers, but the criteria is getting more and more onerous on the business owner to get their products into stores. So a lot of them have to go, instead of B2B, they're avoiding the retailer and going directly to the consumer. And that's kind of what's flourished, sort of these micro manufacturing, highly custom plants that, whether doing cabinetry or doors, they're going directly to the customer through social media.
Yeah.
So it is bringing sort of a renaissance of quality. You're seeing a lot of unique things that, maybe in the 80s and 90s, where we didn't have sort of social media and everything was moving towards a big box store where everyone was kind of getting the same format doors or cabinets. We're moving to something where it's a bit more unique. So that's kind of what we're seeing again.
I'm seeing a little bit, but I think it's really the market and the clients that are dictating that. I think that tradespeople and the artisans, the woodworkers, they are having a hard time finding that. And I'll be honest, it's probably 1% of the market of clientele that really appreciates that hands-on effort in quality, right? They're so used to being told the container ship worth of stuff just arriving and give me the size, whether it's 32, 34, 30, whatever it is, just give me the size. I just need that. I really don't need the sweat equity associated with something that's artisan, that's crafted well, right? But there's still a lot of tradespeople that I know, finished carpenters, that they're doing them right now. They're being asked to do it because the offset is the lead times. A lot of these big companies are giving these ridiculous lead times that clients won't want to wait for it. So if you got someone who actually can do it the old school way, the way that your dad did it, I was like, they're saying yes to it. Even though the dollar value is a great amount, but I think the quality is there, and I think certain clients will pay for it. For sure they will.
There's definitely a market for that, absolutely. Yeah. And the demand is getting a little bit better, because I think people during COVID had a lot of time to research and explore other possibilities. We were fortunate to stay open during that time, and we were very, very busy. And back then, a lot of our employees decided to take on their CERB payments and stayed home.
Okay.
So we had 2 kids in university, 2 were working in the business, and it was my husband and I, and it was all hands on deck. So we had to sell, we had to make product and deliver product. And those customers, fast forward to this year, they're still with us because they really appreciated that.
They do. Those little things really mattered during those years. When that happened, I was telling everybody on the show, I go, here's now the best time to reinvent your business and understand true customer service. If you don't do it now, you're going to miss it. And then you're going to lose customers in the long run. And now here we are. Economy's not that great for construction nowadays, right? Especially in Canada and especially in Ontario. Everyone's kind of struggling, but there's a lot of people still working. But I think they're working because they planted those seeds of really good customer service during those years.
Exactly, and customer service is the key. One of the keys for success, and the other one that we focus on is quality.
Yeah.
We really take pride in our work, and we see ourselves as a company where we don't have a turnover rate. We have employees that are lifers. So they start with a company when they're fairly young, and they go through a tremendous amount of training to understand our product and to understand that we are problem solvers. Because a client comes to you with a problem. You're expected to solve it for them. And if you're able to provide that consistency over and over again, you have a client for life.
Yep. And it's not even like people can argue they're building the house one time. Clients are, right? But if it's built correctly, they're going to boast about that house several times, many times. They'll engage, they'll invite people, family functions, holidays. Everyone gets to see it. And then they're really proud of the fact of what that contractor or that supplier offered. And they'll be like, look at that. That's amazing. Can we? And I like seeing that. I like seeing friends coming over and just all of a sudden start photographing or discussing things. And then they're starting to put their Pinterest book together for their own future project. And that's how you get that one client offering service for you guys several times, right? That's what makes a lot of sense to me in construction. But a lot of younger trades don't understand that value, right? They're one-offs, aren't they?
I think the most powerful thing, even if it's a one-off client that walks into our showroom and will only buy one time from us, they've got a network of people that they talk to.
Yeah.
And that's where, where my mom touched upon training of our staff. We have outside sales reps, we have inside sales reps, and they go through rigorous training before they get onto the road to, come to your site, to measure, to see what your needs are. And our goal is to educate the customer. There is a multitude of door and trim options that you can put into any home, whether it's poplar or a stain grade product. And we really want people to leave when our sales rep leaves. We want them to think that, hey, we got all the information we needed.
Yeah.
We provided a budget and we got the most value for what we're putting into our home. And for an item that, a lot of people talk about kitchens and washrooms, and they're beautiful parts of the house, but you're gonna use your doors every day, you're gonna see your trim every day, and it can really tie together a home, putting in the proper door and trim package and even being able to do something unique. We've got over 180 door styles we manufacture here in Canada that have a 7 to 10 day lead time. So you don't have to wait for a container to come off,
Yes,
and we really did that thanks to my grandfather and then my father taking over. And we've refined our technique over 50 years to get to the point where you place an order on Monday of this week, between Monday and Wednesday of next week, you're getting it. Obviously, that's, there are exceptions, custom glass and things we have to order, and we're not a glass
But that's how the assembly line works, right? When someone starts to talk to you, it's going to take them longer than that week to just decide on the finalizing of everything. So you guys are already prepping it and getting ready for that order to be placed, right?
Well, we also have a great pipeline system with our outside sales reps. We meet with them every week, and they'll tell me, hey, I know this house lot's coming down the pike. We'll start planning for production. If I'm running low on, whether it's poplar or sheet goods, I'm getting that already ordered in, and we're working with our suppliers to make sure that the back of our production facility is always full with the materials we need to deliver that lead time, so people aren't waiting. The biggest cost to any job is having it sit empty and nothing going on to it. The interest you're paying and all those other expenses, you want to get the job done as quickly as possible in a way.
I don't know this, but is our poplar from Canada?
So the poplar that we use is American poplar.
Okay.
It's due to the growing season. It's not that we don't want to support Canadian. We do support Canadian. All our Western red cedar, all our hardwoods are up from Quebec. Where we can purchase the highest quality, we do purchase Canadian. That's first and foremost. Yeah. But with the poplar, all our poplar is 100% American poplar. You'll see a lot of other companies on their quotes write white wood. And, that's not necessarily.
The Americans actually called it white wood and we called it poplar. Is that the case, or I don't know.
I can't talk on that sense, but I know it's because they can substitute different woods in that are still considered white wood.
Got it.
During the winter season, as you know, when they're drying wood, the temperature's colder outside, it costs more energy to dry. So poplar actually spikes up during the winter time. So some companies will take that opportunity to, purchase a substitute wood that, still a hardwood, but maybe cost a little bit less, but won't give you the same finish as American poplar. So all our poplar is 100% American poplar, and we source A grade. So all our trim is defected before it goes out. So you're not getting pieces with knots in it. It's all already been done on our shop. And when our experts come to measure for you, you know that you're not going to have any waste on this site. You're going to get exactly what you asked for, and your carpenter's going to be happy because we sell it by piece, not by lineal footage. We know how many 8-footers you need, 10-footers you'll need, and that makes the carpenter's job just go by a lot quicker.
Well, it makes the painter's job a lot happier. A home built on trust, crafted with care. Your home is more than just a structure. It's where memories are made, where your family grows, and where you find comfort. That's why your renovation or building project deserves nothing less than the utmost care and quality. Because it's not just about creating a space, it's about creating a place where life happens. Tim, the heart and soul behind Ravine View Construction, understands that your home is personal, and whether you want to be involved in every detail or prefer to leave it in the hands of a trusted expert, he and his team are here to make your vision a reality. At Ravine View Construction, every project is handled with the passion it deserves, from the initial site assessment to the final touches that turn a house into a home. Tim's team doesn't just build, they protect what matters most. With a reputation built on trust, excellence, and a commitment to using only the best materials, Ravine View Construction ensures that your home isn't just beautiful, it's built to last. Tim and his team work alongside the finest tradespeople, guiding you through every step so you always feel confident and cared for. Let them help you create a space where you can enjoy peace of mind and cherish moments with those you love for years to come. Connect with Ravine View Construction today at 416-671-0170 or visit them at www.rvchomes.ca. For direct inquiries, email Tim at info@rvchomes.ca. Let them build not just a house, but a home filled with lasting memories. This message is proudly supported by the Construction Life.
Absolutely.
Right? I wasn't asking that question because of what's currently going on in the political sphere, right?
Yeah.
I'm completely against with what's going on. That's just poking the bear, and we have bigger problems in this country other than that, right?
for sure.
Yep.
And we're neighbors, and we're providing material for both sides. That's just the bottom line. I was asking about it because I've heard so many stories of people starting businesses and not being allowed to get material because you're not big enough. You're just a small fish. So I can imagine that your dad at that time starting a new project, a new business, and offering quality work. You might have had material suppliers giving you raw stock where you're like going, no, we don't want to supply you because you're not big enough. And then all of a sudden you become big enough, and now they come back wanting to supply you. And I'm like, but you've already built a relationship with somebody else that actually gave you a chance. So now they're supplying you with material. So that's where I was going with that question. Did he kind of face that? Was that an issue back then?
Back then, my father-in-law and my husband would go to Quebec, and they'd go to BC to secure the wood. They never had any issues.
Stories. Yeah, I know.
They've never had those issues. We've always had the suppliers. The only thing, we've always paid our bills.
Yeah.
So suppliers are always
what they're happy
lining
about.
up. They're happy.
For sure.
Right? So we've never had an issue like that. And in fact, he gets multiple calls and emails. Oh, I've got this lumber. I got that one. Do you want to take a look? You can come, or I can ship you something, just sample material. So that really hasn't been an issue for us at all.
We to touch about suppliers, we stick to a couple suppliers. We're very loyal with who we give our business to. 100%.
Yeah.
During COVID, you had shortages in every industry, but we stayed loyal with our suppliers through thick and thin. Even if the supplier down the street would sell it to me for 10 cents cheaper a board foot, it's not about that. It's about the relationship you build with that supplier. And when my grandfather started off, everything came in by train box cart. So they would have to rent a truck, drive down to the rail yard, and pull off each plank by hand. And if you know a lot about lumber, you'll understand and appreciate that over the decades, the actual basket of lumber, good quality lumber, is depleting every single year. So in order for us to provide, not free, high quality poplar, it's getting harder and harder each year. So we really rely on these key suppliers to keep us at the top end. So we really just want to work with one or two people. Same with our business model. We want to be your door and trim guy for all your needs, and we want to take care of you from start to finish, just like our suppliers take care of us from start to finish, and grow that relationship over time.
I'm that guy when I was doing construction that I'll go to a big box store and I will go through the lift, and if I see hockey sticks, I purposely throw them on the ground and make as much noise as possible, because you're paying the same amount for that stick as you are if it's straight or if it's bowed.
100%.
And then I noticed during the pandemic years, and I'm not going to name the supplier, it was crap. It was inferior trim product that was good at some point, and I really wanted to, because we weren't allowed inside to just pick or whatever. We weren't allowed to do anything at that moment. There was all these new rules that were being set. But I would go back after picking it up, the order, and I'm like, exchanged this, and I had just cause to explain why I wanted these to be all replaced, because all I saw were knots, defects, end pieces that were not milled correctly, and then the look on the face of the picker. I'm like, dude, take that look off your face and just like get me a piece, because I already know what the cause and effect of me taking this piece and getting it on site. I know what's going to be trickling down the pipeline. So I'm paying the same amount. I want a good quality piece of trim. That's what I want. So go get it. Go find it. I know it's there. Spend the time and find it. But if you want to try to sell me that, I'm going to speak up and be a little upset about it, right?
Yeah. So we don't, I hear you 100%. And, you know, other suppliers will, you know, they'll pack together a lift and they'll put the nice pieces on top and they'll sneak stuff in. But we empower our employees from start to finish. The guy unloading the raw lumber to the guy running it on the molder to the guy putting it on the shelf. If there's a piece that's not good, we expect our staff to pull it out. We train them extensively and we ask them this question: would you put it in your home? And if you can't, if you can't say yes, I don't want to sell it to you. And we tell our customers, if there is a bad piece in that bunch, we will grab a new piece and we will deliver it to your site. You don't have to bring it to me. I'll come to you and we'll apologize. And then we use it as a training opportunity. And that's why people love working with us, because they know we measured it correctly. You're not getting short shift or over shipped. A lot of customers that are running trim right now, or a lot of suppliers, they'll run you an order and then they'll say, oh, I did 15% overage. Here you sort of go. And a lot of these competitors on the custom trim side will either short ship or over ship. And with us, we're selling it by piece with a measure. So you're never going to get a surprised extra $1,000 of cost on your project because of overruns on custom trim, because it's on the shelf. We pick it off the shelf and we run in big batches so we can ensure quality and also economies of scale. So that's why we're able to offer this quality of trim for really the price point we're offering it at.
Yeah, but that's what you're paying for. And plus you're giving it to somebody who's a professional. They don't need to chop off a certain amount. They know what the counts are. They know exactly what extra they need to create whatever miters, or if they're doing aprons or they're doing whatever, they know what they need. That's a good finished carpenter. That's what they do.
Correct.
So it's like you want to hand them the material that they're going to work with. You don't want to hand the material that they have to figure out how to work with. Right? So it makes no sense. I don't need trim people to come on site with extra wood filler. I need them to come on site with extra efficiency on installing trim. That's what I need. I don't need extra materials to fix up mistakes, right? That's what I don't need. So I don't like seeing anybody that comes in prepared for that stuff, because that's not the kind of job that I was running when I was doing things, because I always wanted good quality material on the site, because I knew the cause and effect of everything.
Right.
I just knew it, right? So you're going to eventually hear it from the trades.
Well, just to your point, we'll talk about the MDF trim at this point. We'll sort of get it out of the way.
Sure.
I always tell people, you're going to save whatever you save going from American Poplar to MDF, whether you buy it from us or a different supplier, whoever it may be, but the installer coming in, they're going to charge you the same price, whether they install MDF.
Painter's going to charge you more.
Or they're going to install it. Well, there you go. So what is the cost that you're saving at the end of the day versus getting a quality product? And then think of the longevity of that home. If it's a home that you're going to retire in, you're going to stay in, it's your forever home, you want something that's going to, stand the test of time, stand the pets that, scratch it, stand the, the mopping when you hit it, or the vacuum cleaner, and not chipping off, because then you're calling somebody back to install a new piece, you're trying to match it, then you're calling in the painter. One repair, you're at the same cost. So if you're going to do it right the first time, especially if it's going to be your home or your renovation that you're going to be living in.
I should just do a post of me sitting in a mushroom field and just say, I don't like MDF. Because it's just all about mushrooms, and anybody who knows construction knows what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. And it's just, and plus I did one job early in my career where the client was insisting on me using MDF in a bathroom.
Oh wow,
not a good place for that.
As soon as the sponge touches it, it was done. I kept on fighting it. I'm like, this is done. I'm never going to touch this stuff ever again, right? So it's cheap, like you said, at first. It's expensive down the line.
Absolutely.
That's why I don't like it. I don't use it. So I'm a big poplar person. I want to get into the profiles. Obviously, this is Toronto. Everyone loves the step. That's just their go-to. I'm not a fan of it. I'm a traditionalist. I like building out certain things. I've done so many projects where I've Frankenstein something. I just taken a bunch of trim pieces and put them together and created something that I need to create, right?
Nice.
And I like doing that. And I know that you guys are also being, fought against the plaster side of things and the foam side of things. And I still am a fan of wood coffered ceilings. I will still fight that. And I've seen people build them incorrectly, and I've seen them trying to cheat corners. And I still would prefer to build it, because I know if you build it correctly and you foundation frame it properly, you're never going to crack. It's never going to move. It's never going to shift. It's just always going to last beautifully, right?
Absolutely.
So, what's the other than the step? What are they asking for? What are clients asking for these days?
Well, you do sales there, so you can take that
no,
over.
The other thing that's really popular is our flat stock for ultra modern homes. So they
There's
don't.
another battle you guys are
I think
fighting.
it's this one right
It's
here.
this one right
You guys
here,
are
right?
fighting the drywall return.
All right.
Absolutely.
So
I'm not a fan of it. I'm a fan of that. I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm Portuguese. My mom, she was meticulous about keeping the house clean. Vacuum would hit, broom would hit. And I see these drywall returns and I see this plaster stuff. And I'm like, one hit from a Portuguese and Italian, Croatian, European woman, man, you're plastering. You're fixing.
Yep.
for sure.
Wood, you're scrubbing out a little mark. That's all you're doing.
A little mark, yeah, scuff mark.
Yeah, that's all you're doing.
Yeah, and then this one here, we're getting a lot of requests for two versions. Like this one here is the modern with a groove, okay, and then we also have it just flat stock.
Yeah.
And our designers are really into this. Very minimal wood. Some of them don't want to use wood at all, and I go, how can you have a house with no wood?
Yeah, a lot
What's their reasoning? Like, why? When you ask them why?
Well, I always say, is it cost or anything like that? And they said, no, it's not cost. They can afford it, but they just want more simplicity. And by putting on a wood piece, it just complicates it. It ruins the nice, smooth vision. And like, I'm not really buying it. I go, I appreciate, like I'm looking at the wall behind you, and I'm appreciating the wood, going diagonally, going in different angles, and I'm looking at the characteristics of it, the knots and stuff like that. That's beauty for me. Just having something drywalled, it's plain.
I love telling drywallers that drywall is not the most important material on a job site. They think it is, but it's not.
Well, if it's not done right, then it could be a problem for the other trades.
Even if it's done right, it's not. I just look at that square footage, like the way we treat floors with hardwood, the way we treat ceilings with some sort of ceiling treatments, and then the walls now are, you're dealing with accent walls, you're dealing with, whether if it's like micro cement or you're dealing with textures now. You're going to the old school way of doing things.
Yep.
So it's not really drywall anymore, right? And you're right though, but I've seen bad drywall where I see all the nails, I see all the butt joints, I see all the joints. I'd rather have full skim, but I also rather have something on that wall. So there's lots of opportunity, but clients don't want to spend that money doing that, right?
Well, that's a nice thing. Even though we're on the high quality of products, we do it in such a scale that we are really bringing down the cost for people. And we have ways to bring the cost down. You don't necessarily have to maybe do a back band. We can do a 1/2-inch baseboard, and we can get you to where you want to be while still being budget friendly. And I know a lot of people, they always want to sell to the high end, to the people that have sort of a gazillion dollars in their bank account, but we want to sell to everybody. We want to make every home, every project feel special. And that's why we carry essentially 7 different lines. You can mix and match, and there's infinite sort of possibilities, but we have 7 sort of lines, and we run them in the volumes that we need to run them in to bring that cost down for you. Because I want people to be able to say, all the trim and doors in my house are solid poplar, my doors are solid. The biggest shame is you walk into a freshly renovated house and you go to use the washroom and you close it and you're using the facilities, and you don't know if the guy in the kitchen hears you because the door was hollow. And it's like, why renovate at that point if you're going to put in something that the builder would have put in anyways?
Then they turn on the fan and they got the quietest fan ever.
Oh, for sure. It drives me crazy. You walk into the kitchen, they've got Wolf appliances, but then they got hollow doors, and you sit there and you're like, nothing against the appliance, but man.
I have something against the appliances. It makes no sense. Unless you're a chef and you're actually going to use them, great. If you're going to photograph this stuff, that's a different story. But back to the minimalist kind of thing.
Sure.
Yes.
I think the moment a client, I always ask the client, do you have pets, kids? What are the age of the kids and what are the age of the pets, right? You always want to know, because these two groups of individuals are basically testers. That's all they will push the boundaries of what you've selected for your construction process, right? That's
Yes.
just the bottom line. Dogs will find fascinating ways of damaging certain things, and so will kids, right? So if you have that, you might want to consider not the minimalistic kind of view, because they will hit the corners. They will, when you're moving things in, and I'm like, drywall is not that strong. That's the thing. That's the argument that I have. So you'll see clients who will choose that, regret it later on, right? Build the future you dream of with Generation Construction. Your home is where life happens, where your style shines, and where your future begins. Whether it's your first home, a space for growing family, or a place all your own, you need a builder who understands your vision and brings it to life. At Generation Construction, they ensure your home is everything you've imagined. Greg, the visionary behind Generation Construction, knows that today's homeowners, they want more than just walls. They want a space that reflects who they are. At Generation Construction, they don't just build houses, they craft homes that are uniquely yours. With a reputation for excellence, trust, and a commitment to working with the best, Generation Construction offers a seamless, stress-free experience that ensures your home stands strong for years to come. Contact Generation Construction today at 705-961-5562 in the Muskoka area and 647-381-0361 in the Greater Toronto area, or visit them at www.generationconstructionltd.com. For inquiries, email Greg at greg@generationconstructionltd.com. Let's build your dream project together. This message is proudly supported by the Construction Life. And the next trend that I saw is the full doors right to the ceiling now.
Yep.
No headers whatsoever. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm a fan of that. I just don't get it. Like, it's a heavier door to open and close. It's usually always solid. No reveals on it, just a solid slab.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking children. I'm thinking them how to open and close these doors, right?
And you're also pushing, in the modern homes where you're getting these 108, 120 inch slab doors, whether they're slab doors in a press or mortise and tenon like we make them, you're pushing the boundaries of what these machines can do. I always tell people the widest door that accommodates in all our machines is 42 inches. We can do wider, but after that, it's all
for a passage door?
For a passage door or for big barn doors.
You don't even need that width for accessibility people, right? Like 36, right?
Absolutely. And we just won an order for, I think it was 72 inches by 112. And, we had to make it in a way where there's 3 separate slab doors, and then they have to bring it up. This was for a condo, and then put it together. And I just
112 high?
112 wide.
Wide. And
Wide.
then 96 tall.
96 tall, sorry.
Yeah.
And they wanted to essentially separate these 2 rooms. And I said, man, you could use some 2x4s and some drywall and, put a normal size door. And anything over 96 inches, it's the same. You're getting into the custom side of things. So I really emphasize to people, when you get over there, you're going to see this enormous cost increase. There's no efficiencies to do it. You're doing it by hand, which is great if you've got the budget for it. But then most of the time when we do quote it out, a lot of people come back and say, a door for $600, that's an expensive door. I said, well, a door 12 inches shorter and 6 inches narrower, we can do it for $350.
Yeah.
And we're always trying to guide our clients to give them the best value. It always comes down to value. We want them to achieve their project, but we don't want people to just do it because the designer said, hey, I think it's going to look good this way. There are also the real world parameters, and I'm sure you've run into it when you've done jobs, a designer specking this and you're like, this makes absolutely no sense. If you just make 2 little modifications, you'll get the same general aesthetic, but you're not going to break the bank, break the installer's back when he's trying to install these doors, and it's a win-win for everybody. But not every client's the same way. Some clients just want what they want, and they're usually just ready to write the checkbook.
I always had the best joke for clients. I always told them, listen, I can move the CN Tower. Time and money.
Sure.
It will just take a lot of time and a lot of money. But there's also other ways of doing things. When you get to the designer, it's kind of like off mic before we got started about the Pinterest thing, right? A lot of people see a photograph, but they don't see behind the photograph. Like they started educating themselves when all these clients wanted to have these massive window back walls.
Oh, for sure.
And the amount of steel that was involved in that construction, and then the cost of that window sliding, and whether it was going to be still a fingertip lift and slide along the lines 10 years down the line. There's a difference between you purchasing the correct door, the correct product, the correct material, everything, and it lasting a very, very long time, or creating your own problems down the line. So you have to be careful when you see a design and all of a sudden you want to mimic that, and you want this 10-foot long door inside a house. There's a lot going on in that wall opening that you have to factor in, which is going to increase the cost, right?
Right. And just to touch on that point, what we've been doing is educating the designers, the contractors, with everything you just said, the cost involved, the issues of having
structure now,
right?
Yeah.
And then you have pets, young children, but you have seniors. So in a lot of home situations, it's multi-generational.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to accommodate all these generations. And some of those designs that the designers select or the contractors, they don't take that into account. So what we do is we bring them into our showroom. We have an appointment. We have kind of like an educational seminar with them. And we explain to them, these are the materials, and this is why, for example, we have engineered wood. They would say, well, can we have engineered wood for outside? Well, you can't have it for outside because it's actually not structurally sound. It'll come apart, the materials. It's only made for interior use. But they don't know these things. So once you show them the difference, even for a bathroom, we actually spec very specific wood because of the high humidity that it's susceptible because of showers and so forth like that. But if they don't have this information or they haven't learned it, I find though, okay, on the internet, lots of information, but these specific things are not on there.
Discusses it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this is good because you prepare the designers and contractors to meet with their clients and ask them specific questions. Like first thing I always ask them, so this house rental that you're doing, are you going to stay in this house for more than 5 years? Is this your retirement home sort of thing?
I mean, most people are saying no, right?
It depends on their age. Some people, they find their last house, say, in Toronto, but it needs a lot of work. So, okay, you're going to stay there. So
what age are they at?
You know what? It could be mid-40s.
Makes sense, yeah.
And they'll say, okay, yeah, I want to stay here until I retire because it's close to all the amenities and so forth. So what do you recommend? And then you have other ones that say, no, I just want a quick resale value, right?
Which makes sense.
And you're just going to get something that's more cosmetic. Yeah. So by sitting down with the clients and understanding a little bit the family dynamics and where their vision is within the next 5 years, you're able to prescribe the right trim and doors for their needs and also be very sensitive to their budget.
I think we touched upon the internet experts, and people always come to me and say I was researching,
it's like
and
IA or IE.
That's what pretty much. And I just remember I've been going to the shop since I was 6 years old. I'm 28 now. I'm not going to say I know everything because I really don't. I learn things every day, but I can say I know a good bit about doors and trim. And you'll get people saying this is how especially exterior products, like we do exterior pre-hung doors, and we've designed our catalog to survive a Canadian winter. The heat in the summer, the direct sunlight, all those things. When you come in and you show me a fiberglass door, a steel door, those could work in that sort of application. But when we're talking about real wood that expands and contracts, I can't put a wide, glued up panel as your top panel and then paint it black with no overhang facing south.
Good luck.
But then they'll tell you, well, you just need to do this sort of biscuit joint and you'll be fine. And I sit there and I roll my eyes a little bit. Well, sometimes it's a client, sometimes it's a designer, and it gets frustrating. I would just say,
listen, I'll put a croissant joint in there, okay? I'll do that, and then let them research that and see if that's a real thing.
And we could just so easily just say, absolutely, I'm going to do that, and just build the door and send it off and move on to the next job. But that isn't who we are. We build relationships. And if we feel like this exterior product or even interior products, mostly the exterior stuff that we have to say no to things, we just don't do it. it's not about the money. It's about the reputation. You can't buy back a bad reputation in this industry.
True.
There's only so many skilled guys that are hanging these doors. And we've probably sold to every single one of them in the GTA. They know what we stand for. And if we start shipping out stuff that isn't going to last or isn't good quality, they talk to the contractors, they talk to the homeowners, they say, well, stay away from those guys. Your poplar's not going to come real good. It's going to have
because
some
the failure
furring
fell
in this.
on you guys now. And I'm like, the failure didn't fall on you guys. Failure fell on the fact you didn't pay attention to what was the actual purpose of this door.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I would just say, if they want that, they're really adamant about that, I would go, great. I'm looking forward to building a little wood cover awning over this thing and just having it overhang it. And so you have a little bit of protection on it now, but that's going to increase the price, right?
And that's a conversation we have to have with customers. Either change this or do this, or sometimes we modify the design and we get to somewhere where we feel comfortable making it. I tell my sales reps, I don't expect you to sell and break records every month. Obviously, that's a part of the job. I expect you to build relationships every single month. And in time, the sales will come. And that's what they're focused on. And that's where the extensive training from the guy unloading to the guy selling the product and the guy manufacturing the product, they have to be trained on that, or else you're not going to be around for the next 50 years. And that's something that my father told me very young. He said, we could have cheapened out. We could have started up an overseas manufacturing company in another country, and we could have gone there and just sort of used our name at the time to just say, hey, we're good quality, just buy this. But people catch on. If you don't do it the right way, it might work for the first 5, 6, 7 years, but eventually people will go to the person doing it the correct way.
How are you guys navigating that? Because I know that I've had a lot of kitchen companies, old school, traditional, good quality, telling me they're having hard times because they can't compete against the overseas stuff that's coming in on a weekly basis, right? And they're saying we've never seen it this slow or this difficult. And I just said, you just need to spend more time and effort on finding the right clients.
You hit the nail on the head. Like, when the sales reps go out there, they need to find the right neighborhoods that are going to purchase. If you're going to neighborhoods that, for example, are not going to be spending the amount that you think will warrant your product, you're wasting your resources. You've got to go to the areas that will appreciate your products. And again, back to providing our sales reps with the right ammunition, we give them the Z samples. We give them these cross samples. Like, we'll show, let me just pull this one up. So I don't know if we can see. So
yeah, you can totally see that. Yeah.
So this is sort of just a cross section I whipped up this morning. You can see that it's full 3/4 inch.
I was making some eggs, and then I just thought, okay, I'll just whip up.
No, this is easier to make than eggs for him.
It's kind of funny. In my whole house, my fiance, she's like, I need a little home office. So we had some cherry lying around, just threw together.
That's the worst thing you can do, is tell them that you're good with your hands. You can come up with stuff, man.
I mean,
leave that secret for later on.
She's not dating me for my look. She's dating me because I can fix the problems and fill up her car with gas. That's about it. So this is a good example. This is what we consider a standard for a custom built home. Your poplar, your 3/4 inch premium grade MDF. And then we'll whip out something from, this is from an overseas manufacturer. Right away,
the chipboard, I know.
I walk in, my sales guy walks in and shows the guy, look, we're not talking twice the price. We're talking maybe $40, $50 more a door. And we want you not to buy based on price. We want you to buy on value proposition. And that's what we make a point of showing. And we really equipped our sales guys to educate the client. Every client that buys a house lot from us and, decides to go with us to essentially do their project, they leave there knowing that they got the best value for their dollar. And when we show them images like this, or we take the MDF trim and we compare it to our trim and we show them, hey, does this feel sturdy? You tell me. So that's kind of one of the selling techniques, is bring what the competitor is offering. Because on a website, if I put a 1-panel shaker door next to the competitor's 1-panel shaker door, you can't tell. And people, they use all the good buzzwords on Google, high end, elegant, elevate, all this AI has made it real easy for you to kind of bring up your ranking. But then once the doors are installed and done, it's a real pain to rip it out and do it the right way. It's a big cost for a home.
You can tell the moment you start doing your hinge plates and you start doing your strike latches, and all of a sudden you bust right through the finger joint. Then you can tell right away.
Oh, 100%.
I've had clients like lie to me. No, these are good quality doors. Don't worry, it's all good. And then we start doing the work on them, and I think I see a cave here. You know what I mean? Like there's no material now. I can't bite into anything now. That becomes a problem.
We tell our clients we've got a 10-year warranty on all our doors we sell. 10 years. You come to me with a problem, we'll replace it. And we've been around for 50 years, so our warranty actually means something. When you go to a competitor that's been around for 5 years, their 10-year warranty, well, I mean, will they be here in 10 years? I know we'll be here in 10 years, and we'll honor it. And it is a natural product. So there is times where a door will warp.
Yeah.
It happens. We have that built into our costs. We know 1 out of every 400 or 500 doors, will warp, and we will replace that door.
Wood. It's just...
Absolutely.
If it was installed properly, it was put together properly, there might be a slight shift, right?
Absolutely. Not every piece of wood is the same, and they're all a bit different. And when you get 2 side rails that just happen to dry in the same direction and warp, that's when the door warps. And you can be the best door manufacturer in the world, you're still going to get, if you're only doing solid wood doors, you're still going to get doors that come back warped. That's the unfortunate.
Attention subcontractors and skilled trades. Are you looking for your next big opportunity? 2x2 Construction is expanding and is on the hunt to grow our top-tier network of professionals. Whether you're a carpenter, plumber, or roofer, etc., if you can deliver top-quality craftsmanship, offer competitive pricing, and your communication is where we shine, we want to hear from you. At 2x2 Construction, we value strong partnerships. From multiplexes to garden suites, we're all about building better together, and we want you to be a part of it. Reach out today at info@2x2construction.ca or connect with us on Instagram at 2x2construction. Join the 2x2 Construction team where great work meets great people. This message is proudly supported by the Construction Life. Back to the minimalist. I love how clients don't realize all the additional costs that are associated, because they'll start asking for sauce hinges, invisible hinges.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Just the cost comparison to even ball bearing hinges, let alone. And then they start realizing the cost extras that are associated with the finished trim carpenter that needs to do those now, and they have to create a plate to install all of that stuff. Then they start realizing, hang on a sec, this is dramatically like 5. I don't even know what the magic number is, but it's probably 5 or 6 times more money just for that one single door to do it the way your designer is suggesting to do it.
Absolutely.
Well, there's other ways to do it.
Well, it's also the prep work that goes into installing a door. You don't just put sauce hinges in an opening. You've got to build up that opening to accept it. You're not doing 3/4 inch jambs. Now all of a sudden you're doing at least minimum 1 inch. Yep. And we had a customer actually recently just shipped it out, and it was slab doors. They wanted the Berkeley design on it, but they're solid, so they're good quality. But he had to go to 1.25 inch thick jambs to provide the stability for these doors.
Needed it. Yeah.
And then they framed for a standard opening and only left 2 inches on the rough opening. So now all the slab doors were custom sizes. So his contractor's lack of planning sort of costed the client at the end of the day a ton more money going to a custom size slab door versus a standard size slab door that we've got off the shelf. So it
he left 2 inches or 2.5?
He left 2 inches, and then he put then the carpenter.
Was that Stevie Wonder trim carpentry? I don't understand.
I don't know. I didn't quite get the name.
2.5 is the bare minimum that you would leave. Yeah.
And then they realized that they couldn't just use the 3/4 inch standard jams off the shelf. They had to get the custom jams made, and thankfully the carpenter caught that before they ordered all the jams and ordered all the doors, because at that point then you're into a real mistake there, and that's why we have our sales reps go out. They actually caught that mistake, and we managed to rectify it. So the customer, at the end of the day, even though he had to pay a little bit more and the doors are a little bit smaller than what he wanted, he got the look that he wanted, and we caught that mistake for him. But planning is so important, and that's why we want to work with the designers and the contractors at the start when the house is getting framed. You shouldn't be calling us when the drywall's, basically being taped in, like, hey, I need the doors next week. Well, no. I sure hope you did everything right, or the customer's not going to be happy on these ones here. So things like that.
I want to chat a little bit about the specifics, because you guys you talk quite a bit to trim carpenters all the time, right? And I know that, do most trim carpenters apply the back bend before the install or after the initial casing install? What is the go-to that they're leaning towards? Because I've always been the before, where you just stock, you cut them all to the lengths that you need them, you stack it up, you glue it, you back bend it, and now you're mitering and putting everything together. But I've seen a lot of younger guys doing it the other way, where they're putting the stock on first and then adding the back bend afterwards.
You see, we have all our pieces exact length. So we know what we're sending you. So we see all our carpenters doing it before.
Okay.
You run into issues if you get a made-to-order company that's running the trim as you order it, because you aren't guaranteed those lengths. So with us, if you've got 27 footers encasing and 20 10-footers, you're going to get the reciprocal back band.
Yeah.
So now it's 2 easy piles. So you've got a carpenter that's maybe learning, the apprentice on the thing. You're going to tell him, okay, put some glue here, staple these in. That's your job for the day. I'm going to start routering the hinges. So it really is the more efficient way to put the back band on first. And then it's a good seal on there. And if there are any issues, you're also inspecting the material up and down, because you may get one that may not have a great color or complexion, especially if it's stain grade, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to put this on the inside of the closet, and you're also sort of planning out what you're going to do as you do it. So definitely before, people putting it on after. If the lengths aren't working, I can definitely see why there's a case for
Whatever
it.
works for you. I mean, if it's more efficient the other way, I just seen a lot of guys are doing it the two stages. I look at it like you're doing twice the amount of work now. You're still going to fight the miter and get that miter tight and put it all together. Use your columns, clamps. You use whatever you want to use, right, and whatever glue. But I just find it's more efficient just by setting it up beforehand. The
only exception is when you get to the bigger. If you want to pass me one of the bigger back bands, when you get to one of the bigger back bands, something like this, which
I like
would
those.
Yeah.
Where your question is that a chair rail or a back band?
Yeah, exactly. You love that. So if you pass me the colonial casing there, you'll see that you're obviously on 1.25 inches. You're not getting a nail straight through there on your first try. Yeah. On anything larger than standard back band, I wouldn't recommend it. And then you're also at a different quality of work. When you're upgrading to sort of a look like this, you are really making sure every miter is
that's
good.
Nice to me.
Like this, this is beautiful. If I had the opportunity to renovate my house, it would be the colonial with the big back
That's about
band.
4 right there, I think. Yeah, in total.
This is 3.5 plus an inch, about 4.75 here.
Okay.
So you're getting a nice one, and then we have the optional 9.25 baseboard that matches this. So when you've got 10-foot ceilings and you want to do something special, I've got a package for you. So if you're doing a traditional house, 10-foot ceiling, come on by.
It's a good point that you bring up, because you get clients who move into the older, Toronto homes, and they're stuck at 8, right? Not a lot of homes were built at 9 or 10.
Correct.
You're limited on what you can do for base and trim. There's rules. You can't, and then all of a sudden, then they start talking to you about wainscoting, and I was like,
you're gonna make it feel short in there.
There's rules here. You got to pay attention to. Otherwise, you're not going to understand how it's not pleasing to your eye anymore, right? It's pleasing to your eye when you walk into a certain house that has a certain ceiling height, and then you're limited on how much. I don't know. I try to stay under 4. If it's an 8-foot ceiling,
yes,
no wider than 4 casing, including the back end, and then
Correct.
The baseboard should probably be at the max 7. Kind of 7 or 8 or thing like that. That's what I would do max wise, right?
I tell people we have a nice 5.5 inch option. So we say 8 and under. So basements or really short homes, we say do the 5.5, 8 to 10. We always recommend the 7.25. And then if you're at 10 foot and you want something bigger, or 10 and above, we recommend the 9.25. I think that's sort of the rule of thumb that we teach our guys. And the nice thing is we bring the samples to the site so the client can actually see
Always
it.
do that.
You have to do that.
Always do that.
So many sales reps will come sell you things at your home, and they won't even bring a sample or sample board sometimes, and you're just sitting there and you're like, well, why did you even come over? I
don't want to see a picture. Like, I've seen the pictures online.
Yes.
I've checked it out. I want to see a sample, and I want to put it on the floor.
And we're really big on that. We bring the samples, whether if they're looking for shaker doors, we'll bring a shaker, we'll bring a raised panel, whatever they're looking for, and then we'll bring the profiles they're interested as well, so they can actually see the corner sample of the door. They can actually build a little scale model next to an opening, and you start to visualize it. And with some of the higher end customers, I've seen us sell a door, and actually one whole opening, they'll install it, and then on the next one they'll install a different configuration, and the customer will come and pick.
It makes sense.
But if you're truly looking for the highest quality, install one door into your home. It's going to cost you a little bit of money for sure, but you'll know for certain that this is a pattern that I want to go with. And back to your point with traditional homes in Toronto going to this modern look, I think it's one of the worst things going on, that they have these beautiful red bricked homes, and they come in and they're like, we want flat stock material and slab doors. And a part of me dies. And I know my mom dies because
Yeah.
she's a big advocate for traditional homes. And you sit there and you're like, it would look so good with a nice 2-panel raised door, 3-panel raised, and this beautiful colonial or ornamental trim. That is what people will notice when they walk into your house. If you put modern in a traditional looking house, I just, there's something wrong about it.
It works. You can do it
Sure.
a certain way, but also I would definitely encourage the homeowners to not use the existing framing. Like when you start, the floors are not perfect in those older homes, right? So now
Yeah.
if you're going flat stock, you're scribing till forever, right? You're going to be fighting that all the time. And then if it's in a bad spot, you'll see that scribe.
Correct.
Doesn't matter how good that scribe is, you'll totally see it. That's kind of why I go back to, there was purpose behind all this trim. Chair rail, wainscoting, baseboards, back bend, this was all purpose built. It was designed that way for a reason. So when I start cringing, and everyone knows I'm not a fan of Trimtex and their chair rails and their wainscoting versions and stuff, because it's just built up plaster. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You guys have to understand, there's a chair there, someone moves it, it hits it. It mars wood and damages plaster. So I'm not a fan of that. You can try to sell that all the time, but it's never getting sold to me. I go based on function, tradition, and the purpose behind what's being installed there.
Do you feel like this new generation of people that are renovating their homes, you feel they've lost sort of touch with why things were done a certain way?
1,000%.
Okay.
First
Yeah.
project I ever worked on by myself too, and it was the last one I ever worked on by myself, because you start talking to the voices, right? It was a house in Bloorwoods Village, and I was dismantling a lot of, they wanted an opening staircase. They wanted the staircase that was on the main floor to continue the same way into the basement. So obviously in those older homes, the basement was done more like a carriage staircase. It was just pure crap, right? But
Yeah.
they had a beautiful walnut staircase above, and they wanted that to continue. So then I had to dismantle a portion of that staircase on the main floor. And this was a house that was 100+ years old. And I was discovering poplar in their wainscoting and their details. I was discovering how it was all plank based. It was, and I was discovering all this stuff, and I was like, that's the way it's been built for so long, and that's the way it should be built. So I continued the same way that it was built there, all the way into the basement.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that history and the purpose behind why it was built that way. So I don't think this generation, they just, okay, right, here's the picture, make it look like that. And then they'll just choose the cheapest material so they can make a little bit of profit on that material on top of the work that they're doing, but they're shortchanging themselves, I think. That's where I think the effort has to go back to, find the right client, not the job that you want to just keep on feeding yourself. You have to find the right client that's going to hone in on your skill set. Unless you just, that's what you want to be, doing it, then by all means enjoy the mushrooms. You know what I mean?
But
It's fine.
You're going to be chasing your tail, and it's a race to the bottom. When you're
is.
just supplying that, you're
won't be able to
racing to the
compete.
bottom, and you're going to be finding, unlike us, you're going to be finding a new supplier that's 10 cents cheaper. And then when the next incident happens and you're left high and dry because you can't get in material or whatever happens, what are you going to do? Are you going to close your doors because you kept chasing the bottom of the market? You gotta know who you want to sell to, and you gotta know who you want to be as a company. And we want to be high end. We don't want to be everybody's option, but we do have a variety that should fit most people's budget. So that's where we're sort of sitting right now.
So panels are a big thing now, right? Everyone's getting into kind of accent wall panels. They're doing steps or stuff. And then the moment I see anything that's getting into trends, and I see panels on the big box stores on some shelf, and you can pull out a section that's a 2 foot by 4 foot, whatever wainscoting panel, I'm not a fan of it, right? I'd rather build it out. But are you guys seeing more of that? People are coming in asking for some sort of step paneling design or something that could be painted.
So one thing we work well with is our carpenters, because every site's different and every home's different. I don't think there's a one size fits all for chair rails to panel moldings. We offer a ton of panel moldings, a ton of different chair rails. And we have carpenters we've worked with for a long time, and we tell them, hey, go to this site. This is what they're interested in doing. Even if it's an accent wall, we have some carpenters that are, slowing down, that maybe just want to take on a smaller job. So we send them over, and they'll happily say, this is how you build it out. You got to get a sheet of birch plywood. You got to mount it. You then got to put on top. A lot of people, they just staple right to the drywall, and it drives me nuts. And it's
or
like,
they bring in the box of DAP.
Yes.
And just
and you're sitting there and you're like, sweet Jesus, what am I looking at? And then
after winter, you're going to see a bubble.
Well, exactly. And then you have the other people that go the other extreme, and the entire house, they'll get 3/4 inch birch, and they'll literally stick it to the wall, and then they'll drywall, and then they'll staple on top of it. So they've got a sound sort of connection on there.
Yeah.
Or like I said, they'll design the wainscoting against the birch ply, and then they'll put the drywall on top, and it'll sit just perfect on the chair rail, because we've got nice square chair rails sometimes, so it sits perfectly, it's built in nicely, and it looks like it's actually built into the wall versus just, hey, let me just smack something on top of there. And you can tell, like, people, they'll take a picture, this looks good, but when you see it in person, you're like, this house didn't look like
There's missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Here. Which brings up the age-old argument about whether or not you continue the base over a stringer when you're going from one floor to the next.
Well,
traditional way is to go over it, but
correct.
you have to still respect the width of the stringer.
yes.
So it's a matter of you have to make the base and shoe mold and whatever dance correctly from one floor to the next. And I know that a lot of the younger kids, they're more about terminate it, whether they terminate back into the wall or terminate back into the stringer,
Yep.
and then end it and let the stringer go on its own, which I think is incorrect, and then start up again on the next floor. I think you have to make it continue as if it's custom made with the stringer. The stringer and the base and the shoe and everything work all together.
Absolutely. And especially for spiral staircases, we offer flex mold, which is fantastic because, it's PVC material. It's the only way you're going to bend
You
wood.
can steam and do all that stuff, but not everybody's doing that. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. Like, you kind of got to be realistic with budgets too, because, even all the arches over windows nowadays, I very, very few clients are asking for poplar arches because they're $700-800 a piece. You've got 10 windows, you got $10,000 worth of work there. The MDF arches, you're $150-200. I never recommend it, but in a high enough window where you're not interacting with it every day, it's a reasonable solution.
Yeah.
So we offer those solutions as well. I've seen a lot of people when they go up the stairs, they're just putting the shoe now. They get lazy. They don't even put the baseboard in. It's like,
I don't like
does
it.
that look right to you?
It doesn't.
And what would have it, it's time, it's a bit of labor, but do it correctly. The carpenter's there. And if your carpenter can't do it, well, you've probably got the wrong carpenter there to install that. So that's where we sit with the stairs.
Attention aspiring tradespeople and entrepreneurs. Looking to break into the skilled trades or start your own home service business? Meet Trade Links Consulting, your go-to partner for success. At Trade Links Consulting, they're passionate about helping you find the right trade, build your business, and mentor the next generation. Whether you're exploring your options or ready to take the plunge, they offer tailored career consulting and startup guidance to get you on the right track. Visit them at www.tradelinkconsulting.ca today and book your personalized strategy session. Your future in the skilled trade starts here. This message is proudly supported by the Construction Life. That's the point of the carpenter. They're designing things that are custom right on site, right then and there, based on what the house is. Fine, you give me the samples, you signed off on this casing, base, back, whatever else, all the trim pieces. But now the carpenter has to put the puzzles together based on what it is, and it has to flow.
Correct.
And your eye naturally will follow it. And if there's a hiccup somewhere, you will notice it over and over. And you don't want to be that carpenter that creates that hiccup for the client. I know most clients won't see it. They won't understand that hiccup, but the industry does, right?
It's until somebody points it out, like, oh, by the way, your panel mold around that outlet is, out by a couple degrees, and then you'll see it, and you'll never be able to unsee it.
And that's a good point there, right? Because I've always fought, whether it's in baseboards that are large enough for receptacles that go horizontal, I'm a fan of. I like that.
Yep.
But you're jigging that up. You're doing 2 jigs specifically for the box and for the screw heads, right? You have to set it a certain amount. So you have to make the electrician your best friend at that point, right?
Absolutely.
And same with receptacles in wainscot paneling. Nothing bugs me more than if I see an outlet or a vac, connection point on an actual stile. You know what I mean? Like, it would drive me nuts. And now there's always enough. Every electrician I know always leaves 12 inches of extra loop around the box.
Of course.
And it's designed on purpose, so then you could actually open up that wall cavity, move that box over to land in the square of the panel, right? That's your job as a finished carpenter, to work with the electrician to do that. Because the end result, if you don't do that, it's going to mess up your look on when you're looking at things, right?
And that's why with the contractors we work with, our guys are in there at the framing before the mechanicals even go
They
in.
know whereabouts it's going to go.
We need to tell them, like, look, your designer spec this baseboard here. You're gonna be running into this receptacle. You're not gonna have the room you want to. This is how I would recommend to do it. And then they go back to the designer. We go back and forth, and we figure out a solution. Because by the time, I always say it, when you're all taped up and you're ordering, it's too late to change most things. You're gonna deal with it. If it's in the middle of a wainscoting panel, well, at that point there, you're already too late. So we always emphasize, when you're at the framing point of a house, that's when you should be calling us, and we will invest in the time of going out there and making sure that the site is proper and the mechanicals are going in the right spots, so that you don't have the electrician yelling and throwing stuff at the carpenter that's just trying to do his job too, right?
You got to work together on that. Those 100%. Are all finishing things, right? So it's important to do that. But then there's also a lot of like home automation going into like a lot of details. So you got to factor all these things in, right? And you got to be careful on how you lay all this stuff out to incorporate it, right? I'm a fan of integrating cold air returns into work.
Correct.
You know what I mean? I don't like seeing it go around it or above it and you're moving it out of the way because it's easier, right? I'm also not a fan of either going around the bottom of a supply line for a toilet. You know what I mean? Some guys would love to dance and make a picture frame, and
one of the biggest things we see is, you want to pass me the step-inspired one there? This one here is a built-in sort of two-in-one.
I know that one exactly.
And this one's fantastic. This one's a real popular seller. But when people do their own takeoffs and then they come to us, we're like, okay, we'd prefer to send somebody to do a takeoff, but then they'll run into the problem where they've got a door frame next to another wall that they've got 2 3/4. On regular casing, you can just kind of cut the flat part, shove on the back band, and it's good enough, right? But this one here, you start cutting the back on it, you're left with nothing. So it's things like that where you got to integrate not just the new stuff going in, but also look at the design of the house and say this opening needs to be moved over. I think that's why it's so important at the framing section, framing time, to come to us to have these conversations, and we bring out the samples so we can immediately, all our sales guys know when they see a door next to sort of another wall, they are measuring that, or another door, they are measuring that like right away, telling you you're too tight, you can't do this nice colonial with this big back band, move it over a couple inches. And that's how we catch a lot of our mistakes on there.
Well, a good framer, you look at the drawings, and if you're seeing that there's two doors that are right next to each other, they're already going to be adding an extra stud or two
for sure
on those sides to expand it, right? Because they already know that's going to be a nightmare later on trying to trim it out, right? Put it together.
Keyword, good framer,
No, I get it. You have to be conscious. Well, all good framers are also trim carpenters too, right? They tinkering around, play around with that. I want to let people know that I actually took a plinth block and used it as a crown. And I did it. First of all, it was nice. The pattern was nice. I did it because I took an 8-foot high ceiling and I curved the ceiling into a barrel, which dropped it 5 inches. So it dropped the ends of the barrel to the height of where the bottom of a crown would be. But I still wanted to put some sort of crown there, but I couldn't because then it was getting too close to the height of the casing, right?
Correct.
So then I saw this plinth block and I was like, why can't I take this plinth block, like no different than that profile there, flip it upside down, and it became like a flat looking crown, and it worked because a light went inside.
That's beautiful. That's real smart.
But technically speaking, you're taking something that's not designed for the ceiling. It's designed for the base of a casing application in traditional trim carpentry, but you can do that. And it works, right?
Well, one client saw our apron for our sills for windows, and they just love the design.
I love aprons.
They are probably the most underrated thing in a house. When I walk into a house and they've got aprons under their windowsills, I'm like, this house is fancy. Yeah. And same with plinth blocks. I wish they would come back. Like the amount of artisanship that went into plinth blocks. But right now, if I can be honest, we're not. Maybe 1 out of 50 homes, maybe are doing aprons and plinth blocks.
I don't think clients know how to say plinth.
Yeah, I think
or
it's
spell it.
I think it's the spelling that's the most difficult. But I really wish designers would start speccing more intricate designs and understanding that's what's going to bring beauty to these homes. Like, and again, it's nothing against people doing modern homes. You can do them so well, but if they can bring back those traditional looks, especially in the old parts of Toronto where the home already matches the aesthetic of the interior. You want the outside to match the inside. So I just don't see the rise in that. But hopefully, maybe a few more viewers here will make a trend come back.
I'm a fan of those older homes where you'll see the dining rooms where they have a cove that the plaster just went down, and then all of a sudden it terminates at a chair rail, and then below that they would have molding. Like what I don't get is people go and visit other places, or they'll watch movies and they're amazed by homes that are being used in these movies or these like office buildings. And like, I'm a fan of 007 and that padded door, the upholstered door, right? I'm like, that, why am I not seeing that in someone's home? Like, one side is wood solid and on the other side is padded, right, with the buttons on it. And I'm like, there's things that you can do here in your home that are nice nods to the traditional way of doing things, like that ceiling of a curve coming, chair rail 2/3 of the wall and the rest of it paneling. That's very soothing when you're sitting there for dinner and just relaxing and talking to people. People are going to appreciate that. Look at it and they're going to go, this is really nice detail. It's simple, but it's a really nice detail.
For sure. That's the same with some of the more traditional arch styles of doors. A lot of people have gone away from, sort of the arched panels in the doors and the solid wood doors. Like, there's nothing more pretty than, I'll say it, a red oak door. Like, I know red oak has kind of been out of fashion for the last 10 years in the door styles. We still sell quite a bit, but for me, red oak is something that it has such rich grain, and white oak's beautiful, but you're literally buying wood because it has less wood characteristic, and you're paying like 3 times the price more. Make it make sense. It's like, do you want to see the wood or do you not want to see the wood?
Because red oak is associated with thin strips of cheap flooring. Sure. That's the reason why.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But I remember,
the grain is nice, and if you use it in like a door like that application, it's good.
Well, the 15 light French door with beveled glass in red oak, 96 inches tall. Entry into your office.
That's a gorgeous door,
You're going to make a statement. Nowadays, it's everyone doing a one light with fluted glass. Newsflash, a fluted glass doesn't make you special. Every single designer is blacking the house with fluted glass. I remember when it came into fashion, when they started with the kitchen cabinet doors, they started doing, some of the uppers, they started doing it with the fluted glass. And then it caught on, and now everyone's doing it for office doors. That's great. I'll sell you what you want. I'm not here to tell you how to design your house, but I'm telling you, a 15 light traditional French door, red oak with nice long hardware in brass. Like, let's bring back some nice hardware as well, like the antique brass hardware. It made a door. They used to use everyone's flat
oval
tip
or glass.
Absolutely.
Patina. Like, I like all that stuff, but right now with the building code, they're trying to push everything lever.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of levers, and again, I go back to dogs. Dogs are really smart on opening up lever doors. Mine was like cat burglar to heaven. Like, he was easy to open up any lever door.
Yeah, especially what type of dog do you have?
It was a Weimaraner, right? So he would just lift it up with his nozzle and like his nose, and all of a sudden, boom, he's in. He just knew it all the time. My little lab would just be staring at him, going, "Get us in there."
Yeah,
right?
we just
Bonnie and Clyde, maybe.
She was shorter; she couldn't reach.
Oh my God! We just adopted a cane corso a couple months ago. We rescued it.
Cow, you're gonna be getting like truckloads of food.
Shoot, like, this dog eats 4 pounds of raw meat a day.
How big are the paws already?
It's hooves. We call them hooves. And
it's a baby horse.
It's a female. It's Venus, and she's 110 pounds. So just because she's a female doesn't mean she's small. She's got a head like a horse. And when my fiance was like, "Oh, this dog, it's gonna be put in a shelter. Let's adopt it, and all this sort of stuff," she's like, "That's a 60-pound dog." This dog was not 60 pounds. This dog,
it's 100 plus.
This
easy.
Dog's a huge dog,
it's gonna get bigger still, right?
Of course. And the nicest thing is when you're in the washroom, if you forget to lock it, she'll open the door and come join you. I'm like, "What are you doing here? I need a moment here."
They do that, right? Animals do that to protect.
Oh, okay.
So whenever you're most vulnerable, when you're doing your business out in the woods, right?
Yeah,
and that's the reason why. So dogs are always want to get into the bathroom because they want to stand guard on you while you're doing your business. That's what I've read about it. Right?
Well, I guess it's
true. But this is modern time. There's no
there's no threat in my bathroom. Relax. But she can fully open doors, and it's not something we trained her or anything. It's just that knowledge too. So I mean,
I wonder if you put. I never tried this with mine at the time because there's so many interesting things going on with TikTok. But what if you put a mirror on the outside of your bathroom door, so when they're sitting there, they're just looking at themselves in the mirror?
You could try that.
That would be
keep
funny.
Keep them occupied while you do your business, and then get out, and they're still like, either checking themselves in the mirror.
I usually just put some peanut butter on her nose, and
There
I'm
you
like,
go.
all
So
right,
that'll
that
keep
bought
her
me
busy.
5 minutes. So she's trying to lick it off.
What else, you guys? Okay, what other? I'm a fan of the grooves and everything. Like, I like all the details, and then you got the traditional back bend there with the colonial.
You want to show some of them?
Oh, you can go.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're doing a great job. The one thing though we like.
There we go. There's Toronto.
There's Toronto, right? Here we go. So, what makes our trim nice is I like to, when my customers come and visit us, okay? And I call them my seasoned pros or vets, because this is a new project for us. So we don't know if we were making good or bad trim. So I'll go up to them and say, hey, Manny, tell me what you think. So I'll pass it to you now.
Yeah.
And they'll feel it and they'll say, I've never felt anything as smooth as this except the baby's bottom. So we've actually curated and perfected this. And the one thing we also pride ourselves is feedback. We call our clients after delivery happens. And first I want to know if the delivery went smooth,
Yeah. Everything's
right?
fine.
And everything's
good.
fine.
Yeah.
Once I get that feedback, then I wait a couple of weeks because then they get started on the project and stuff. And what do you think of the product? And this might be the first time they're buying our trim. And they said, I'm not going back to your competitor. It's sweet. It's easy to work with.
Paint's great.
It paints great. And I save time and money. So that is a very big key for us. The other thing I wanted to bring up.
Painters love those profiles, by the way.
Oh, the less detailed, the easier. And
They're all about. They always pull me. They're like, Manny, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reveals here, Manny. 8 reveals.
price goes up.
1 reveal.
Yeah, no, and it's 100%. And to my mom's point, like, we started doing trim as COVID was sort of ending. We realized that, look, like, we're great at doing doors. We've been doing it for a long time. You know, my sister and I are in the business now. We have the capital, you know, the manpower sort of to expand, and we wanted to leave our mark. And that's really why we went into trim. And we said, if we're going to do it, though, we got to do it well. And I'm going to tell you, this is a story of, you know, 4 people, my father, my mother, myself, and my sister, saying we want to do trim. And we've never done it before. And this is to everybody who's out there that's saying, well, how do I start? Well, you just start. You start going in the right direction. You ask people that know, and you ask a lot of questions. And like my mom said, we talked to, my mom must have talked to 30, 40 carpenters telling them what's important to trim. They said the lengths, that they wanted it. The biggest thing we kept hearing is, sell us by length. Don't just say 800 lineal feet and then ship me whatever. And, you know, I don't want to put that puzzle together. I want you to run it and then send me what I need. So we figured, well, we got to inventory stuff. And then they said quality. Yep. And I'm going to tell you, we ran and threw out, unfortunately, so many pieces that weren't good until we got to a point where, like my mother was saying, we are proud to go up to any of our competitors and I say, I'll put my poplar trim against anyone else's, and I know my quality's better. And that's when we went into the market. If you're not going to do it the best, stay home. And that's the mentality we took here. And that's kind of where...
Simplify your construction business. Are you buried under paperwork, chasing down payments, and struggling to stay organized on the job site? Stop wasting time on complicated software or old school spreadsheets. JobTable offers the simplest tool for contractors to manage their business. Send quotes and invoices in seconds. Schedule your team effortlessly. Track every job and payment in one place. Whether you're working solo or managing multiple crews, JobTable makes your business run smoother so you can focus on the work that matters. Try it free today at jobtable.com, the simplest way to grow your construction company.
We're
Customers
sitting
will
here
just
today.
find you. When I say
Yeah.
customers, I mean the trim carpenters.
100%.
They
That's
will
right.
appreciate it, right? They know that they price things out based on their time and how long things normally would take. If they have to fight to get things done that would normally take X amount of time, it starts to take profit off their table. That's just the bottom line. So everybody's in this game to make some money, and we don't want to lose money. So better product, it gets installed faster, it gets more efficiently installed, and it looks better too. And then the painter comes in very, very happy.
Yeah. So typically when you ordered material and stuff, what was your process when you were ordering doors and trim? Like, what was your experience? What was the lead time?
After you get the client
Yep.
to sign off on whatever it's going to be?
Sure.
Yeah, you would put the order in. You would actually request lengths based on what you're doing. I would actually give a detailed breakdown of the doors, the windows, whether it was apron, what have you, and all the little details. You break it all down, and then this is what I'm expecting regarding the lengths that I'm looking for. I did a lot of that legwork.
Yep.
Because then I needed that material to show up on site for the trim guys to get started, right? And then they can just unfold that puzzle and start doing the work, right?
And that's what we take out of it. It's, hey, my guy's going to come to your site. You're going to walk through. You got to tell them where the built-ins are, where the cabinetry is going, and this is a feature wall, no baseboard here. You got to be there with them. And we always insist, like if the contractor or the foreman of the site isn't there, we're not sending a guy out, because
no, you need them there.
You can't guess at that sort of thing. So we typically do that, and with all our trim profiles, they're in stock, and we've got our doors in stock as well. We've got a lot of Prime Series doors in stock. So typically on a lot of projects, we're seeing, 1 or 2 days after sign off, the truck's coming and they're getting started. Yeah. That's not every item. I want to prefix that before people say, hey, I need this custom arch tomorrow. Whoa, okay. Give me, no.
Within reason.
Within reason. Yeah. And that's what we kept hearing from a lot of people like yourselves is, I'll place an order. If it's not, a big box store or not a lumber yard, I'm not getting it the next day or the next week. I got to wait 3 to 4 weeks. And then the other complaint, if they do buy from a lumber yard or a big box store, just like you said earlier, they're hockey sticks. They're not good material. It's not defected.
But so clients need to wait, and trim carpenters need to wait, not only for the material to show up on site, depends on the time of the year.
Correct.
Yes.
You're not unbundling that and trimming away. You got to wait a little bit. You got to make sure this job site's correct regarding temperature, right?
Yep. Well, we are always walking in, and we do we start with the framing, and then they'll go back when they're approaching the taping phase. And we always tell people, put the dehumidifiers in your home. All that moisture you're putting up against the wall, where do you think it's going? It's not just going to sit there. It's going to evaporate.
It's a big sponge, I know.
Yeah.
And then the beautiful Poplar doors you just ordered are going to absorb it all. And we tell people, just run it for a week or two before you get it. Have the heater on if it's wintertime. And if it's the summertime, put the AC on. Start getting the house climatized so that when you put stuff on the wall or you put in the baseboard and the casing, you don't have it peeling off the wall the next season when the temperature changes. So you also got to let the material sit there for a week or so.
There was a guy that we had this come up before because we were talking about flooring. And I'm trying to remember, there was one gentleman that left a comment about that because I kind of blamed the clients looking at the damage of the furnace during new construction, that it would fall on them now if you start operating it, right? Mm-hmm. And then to keep the job site at a certain temperature that you need for the work and the material to be reactive correctly, right? And I'll try to find it another time, but there was like... I'm trying to remember the comment. Somebody left it on YouTube. There's comments everywhere. But he was talking about something that had something else to do with it as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, the point is, though, you really need to have a job site that's the right temp. Mm-hmm. Not for the comfort of the workers. I still respect that. But it's for the comfort of the material that's about to be installed, because you can leave a brand new piece of wood on a job site and it starts to shrink and shrink and shrink. And now you get a new piece months later on, and then you try to put the two together. I don't get it. Why are there two different sizes? Yep. They were the same size, but one absorbed and one dried out. That's the bottom line. That's what happens with it's wood. It's still wood, right? And
I think a lot of clients get really pushy near the end, especially when they're doing the finishing, whether it's the flooring, the doors, the trim. They see the material there and they're like, hurry up and throw it up. Like, we want to paint this sucker and move in, which I can appreciate with the permitting process and everything that they just had to do. It's sometimes a 2-3 year process for people that just want to move into their renovated home. But if you don't do it correctly, you're gonna really see the problems down the line. And we've had customers that have had issues, and we kind of tell them, like, look, did you follow the steps? And we outline it and we send care and handling. But at the end of the day, it's still the responsibility of the contractor to understand what they're installing and how to best suit it. We can only educate so much. And we're always here to fix stuff. If there is a problem, it's a couple pieces. We're really good with that. We'll work with you.
We'll work with them, right?
It might happen. It depends,
sure,
right? Because the finish of everything in a home, especially new construction, still relies heavily on how the home was framed and started with.
Correct.
right? If it wasn't done properly and you don't have a proper building envelope and things are being exchanged that are not supposed to be exchanged in regarding moisture, then that's going to affect the finish, right? And there's a reason why you got a lot of builders like, listen, we'll come back in for the deficiencies. We'll take care of nail pops. We'll take care of all this stuff. But I've done lots of projects where we never had to do any of that stuff because it was extra care was put at the beginning, cost more money. But unfortunately with clients these days, you're always fighting time with them.
Sure.
Time is like, tell them a week to sit or tell them a week to do this, and they're upset about it. They just don't get it. We need to get in there right away. But that's not fair.
Even when you start projects, like for example, our exterior doors, during the wintertime, we won't ship any of them out. Like right now, if you ordered a pre-hung exterior door, we're not shipping them out. I'll make it for you. It'll stay here. But until April rolls around, I'm not sending it to you. And if you don't like that, go buy it from somewhere else.
You know what's going to happen if you do.
I already know what's going to happen, and we've been through the same story. And if you can't, and we make it very clear, you know, you're never going to have a disappointed customer if you set expectations clearly at the beginning. And I think a lot of contractors need to set that expectation that if you start digging the hole in the springtime and you're doing the finishes in the dead of winter, you need to maybe wait a little bit longer than if you're doing the finishes in the spring or the summertime, where the site naturally has a little bit more drying out time. True. And again, it's always setting the customer's expectations. And if you educate your customer, they'll be a better customer for you. And that's what we really do believe in.
Your step there, I noticed you got a radius on it on the top. On the top there.
This one here.
So this one here is actually not our step bevel. I pulled up our step bevel. This is our step bevel.
Okay.
This is our sleek profile.
Okay.
So as you notice, it's basically, this is a Toronto special. This is Toronto light. So people that don't like to, you know, myself, I'm not a big duster, you know. This one here, we designed this one because realistically, this ledge, it's only going to accumulate.
I know, but it goes back to the minimalist, right? Because they always talk about we don't want trim, but we want that little drywall return at the bottom, right? And I'm like, that's like spider heaven there. That's just going to create a bunch of dust in that little cavity there.
For sure.
If you're arguing the fact of not going this because of dust collection, you're creating another profile that's going to be massive dust collection, right?
Well, and that's where we tell our customers, look, you do the groove profile. Get ready, get your cleaning supplies out and
your
long piece
Swifter.
of vac attached that nobody ever uses unless you're doing your car.
100%.
That's going to get used every single week on your trim.
For sure.
Absolutely. And realistically speaking, any of the more traditional styles, there's dust. Dust is gonna sit on this profile, and especially if you have the back bend sitting on top of a door, you've got 1.5 inches here where dust is gonna collect.
It's a house. It collects dust on the floors.
Of course,
as long as you don't see the dust, right?
Yeah.
It can't hurt you if you don't
with
see
light
it.
colors. So, like this is actually our sleek bevel design, and this is how I convert our designers from this to this, because they're working with a home that might be historical and they're trying to update it. And I go, this is a bit too extreme, honestly speaking. So let's soften it a bit. I know you want maybe the modern slab doors, right? Yeah. So this has become a big seller as opposed to that.
Do you have that in different heights?
Yes. So this one here is a 9 1/4. We got 7 1/4 and 5 1/2.
5 1/2 would look good on an 8 foot high Toronto. Yeah, it would look good on an 8 foot.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so it's a good sell, and it kind of finishes the space, and it doesn't give it that too much of a modern flair. Now, for those ones that do want the modern flair, it's here. We do offer it in the poplar, which is paint grade, but the biggest craze that's overtaken Toronto and in the GTA in general is going back to the white oak. So we've been selling a lot of white oak doors.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then they say, okay, well, some people, they'll buy the poplar trim and they'll paint it. They'll stain the doors.
Yeah.
But then they say, well, we want stain gradable material. Do you offer white oak trim? So
we it perplexes me again.
Do you?
We do. So everything that we inventory, like everything in the poplar styles that you'll see in our catalog, we inventory. On the white oak side, we said, all right, let's let's bring in the 4 5/8 jams, the 6 5/8 jams. Let's run them. And then let's do, what's the most popular request that we get for the white oak? It's always the flat stock material.
100%.
100%. So now we have off the shelf, we have 1x3, 1x4, 1x5 that you can use as baseboard, and the shoe mold. So we have an incredible variety for white oak just off the shelf. It drives me a little bit crazy because I keep saying white oak. I mean, I feel like it's a huge craze, and in a couple years from now, they're going to move on to something else, but it still is a beautiful wood to use. And the correct answer, if you're going to buy a white oak door, you're going to do paint grade trim around it. You want that to be, in my opinion, you want that to be the accent.
It looks nicer because here's the problem that I see that I don't think visually would work. If you're doing a white oak door, white oak casing, then and if it's a flat stock kind of material, then you're mitering into a white oak base. What's your floor? Most likely white oak.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's a hell of a lot of white oak.
Yeah.
I don't think visually it looks good.
No, it's overkill.
Exactly. You drain out the look of that door.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got, even if you do have a 2x6 wall and you got 6 5/8 jams and you're looking at it from the other side, you just see all this white oak and then it mixes into more white oak. If you're going to do a stain grade door, whatever it is, walnut, white oak, red oak, anything, do paint grade trim. 100%. It breaks it from the floor, it breaks it from the door, and now you're looking at that beautiful door.
Miter to the base, split the floor from the base to the wall, and then do the door, and then the door will stand out really nice as a white oak, as a natural looking wood door.
That's Absolutely.
Right. And then you can go whatever, most likely they're probably going to go black handle, black hardware.
Yeah,
most likely
black hardware.
Yeah, like I mean it's black or satin nickel. I don't know. When was the last time you installed brass hinges?
Nobody does it anymore. Am I a fan of black? Depends on which black it is, because right,
there's different variations.
I go back to pets
Patina.
and kids, right? Yeah. Dog's mouth and whatever he's been eating lately.
Especially your dog.
Black is great, but I just find that if you don't even buy the proper hardware, it flakes, it scratches.
That's
You're wearing a ring. You open your door, all of a sudden you've got this
with
pattern
a satin,
mark.
You'll get a little mark, but that's character.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it. Brass is a little old school,
but it patinas.
Yeah, I like the patina.
Can you imagine in 10, 15 years your house has patinaed hardware, and you put nice real red oak doors in it, and all of a sudden it matches all nice.
Great with red oak.
Red oak fell
I think
style.
brass is coming back because it's pretty funny. We discontinued our brass insert series a few years ago. We had 3 selections. We had brass, we had lead, and we also had a patina. Okay? And we had pewter too, so 4. And it used to be very popular in the 80s.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Fizzled out early 90s.
Glass block.
Right, and we had like thousands of doors in stock, from sizes as small as 24 all the way to 36. And we would sell truckloads of these things. And all of a sudden, nobody wanted them anymore. So we said, okay, we're going to discontinue. Surprise, surprise, late last year, I'm starting to get people asking for that again. You don't carry brass anymore? Well, how come? You guys carry everything.
You know why? I'm seeing brass being introduced into stonework in bathrooms as a border, right? And I'm seeing a lot of tile installers having to buy metal now and then embed it into the stone.
Wow.
Really?
And I do like it. I personally do like it, but now you have to start getting the training on, and I've had metal guys in here before. You got to really understand metal and how it works and how it reacts, right? And just you guys talking about I could see those brass little hints going into door panels. When it comes to spray foam and blown-in insulation for your next project, there's no better team than Mohammed and his crew at Foamit. With well-educated, skilled installers, Foamit doesn't just get the job done, they do it right. They take the time to properly estimate and educate you on every aspect of your project, ensuring your building envelope is airtight and energy efficient. As leaders in the industry, they bring a deep understanding of building science to every job, making sure your project stands the test of time. But don't just take their word for it. Past clients constantly praise the quality of work and professionalism of the Foamit team. From homeowners to large-scale contractors, feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, with clients appreciating their attention to detail, the thoroughness of their crew, and the results that speak for themselves. At Foamit, they pride themselves on building lasting relationships through exceptional service, reliability, and the commitment to exceeding expectations on every single project. Whether you're insulating a new build, upgrading an older property, or tackling a commercial project, Foamit is your trusted partner in achieving energy efficiency and comfort. They understand the importance of getting it right the first time, and that's why so many clients return to them for future projects. Connect with Foamit today. Reach them at 416-893-8712 or 647-961-9777. Email them at mohammed@foamit.ca or visit them at www.foamit.ca. Follow them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn to see their latest projects and innovations. This message is proudly supported by the Construction Life.
Well, we when we had the brass inserts, they were essentially brass around, and then they had different 10 light, 15 light designs. I'm sure you've seen them. My grandfather told me a story when he first got them. He would put this wood caulking in for the panels and whatnot. He tried to use it, and then he'd get a call after he sold a couple, and the guy's like, "It's turning green." Because the brass was reacting with that.
Oxidization.
So they had to move.
That's what I mean. You got to educate yourself about metal.
So we had to move to a clear silicone material that holds it the same. It's more expensive, but it worked for the purpose of it, working there. But again, the guy that we used to get it from, a couple years ago, he retired. He said there's no industry in it. He had a nice unit in Mississauga, and he retired and said, I'm calling it a career, because he used to do a lot of work for kitchen places, for door places, but as it fell out for doors, I'm sure it fell out for the kitchen places, and eventually at a certain age you hang it up, and I wouldn't even know where to find that again. It's just a shame. You gotta
get someone to start it up again, because I could totally see someone asking you guys for a white oak door.
Yep.
With a black little accent metal.
Yeah.
And good luck with that, because there's a severe skilled trade shortage.
Beautiful.
It would be amazing.
It would be beautiful with the handle, with the right hardware, and then the hinges and everything, and you just have this little metal detail, black metal that looks gorgeous against white oak. I get it, but it would be very expensive, and it'd be challenging to find the right person to do that.
Oh, for sure.
See, that's the big challenge. Like, we have so many ideas for product development, and because of having European roots and traveling through Europe, like Portugal and Italy and France, and you see all the historical artifacts and structures, and you're like, that would be amazing to recreate in Canada. But there's a few holdbacks. One, we don't have the skilled people.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to teach that? Plus, the costs
your R&D
are really high.
Insane. Yeah. No,
right. So, and then plus you got to have a certain amount of sales to make it sustainable, unless you're going to do it in your garage and sell them here and there. Right.
I like the marriage of metal and wood. I totally do.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful, but if you want it, you guys will figure it out.
The minimalism, even in the hardware now, like everything's going to small little hardware. I remember when they'd be big, long hardware with ornate, leafing, and they'd beat the metal and have little ding marks in them. And
you're boring like an inch and a quarter hole to put the barrel through it, right? And
correct. Where's the rest of the hardware on this?
Yeah.
And there's just a lack of unfortunately in the GTA there is, I'm not saying a lack of talent. There are very talented people. There's a lack of a surplus of talented people that then have the opportunity to say, I want to enter this market. I have a talent in woodworking or in metalworking. I need to find my niche. And then they create something like this. Because honestly speaking, if you're a tradesperson or you're working in this industry, you're probably pretty busy. You don't have time to go and explore and try something new or something different. But you have the right
clients that you could find that might have another client friend that wants to try this and see what happens. So you want to be ready for that, right?
Oh, for sure.
Well, it falls in our product research. And the reason why we started this way was it was years. Clients would always come, they'll pick up doors and then they'd be happy. Oh, great. You made the doors in a couple of days. And I go, you all set? No, now I got to go somewhere else to get trim, and I got to go here. So I'm going to lose my whole day. But if you guys would supply the trim and do this.
When did you guys start supplying trim? When did that start?
We officially moved into our new location in July last year, 2024.
And that's when you started doing trim?
Yep. Yes.
It's always been doors up until then?
Yes.
We were very good at doors. I'll tell you one thing for free. Doors we're great at.
Yes.
And when we started this,
we've perfected the art.
you know, I'll be honest with you. Every single pattern you see here was the work of my dad sitting with us, and you know, we had our sales manager Dan. He knew AutoCAD, so we literally sat there. We designed every one of these profiles. These profiles are unique to us. They look similar to other ones. Don't get me wrong. We're not going to reinvent the wheel either.
No,
you know, you got to offer also what's in the market. But these are all uniquely ours. And we literally started with that. And then from that to cutting knives to buying machinery to all the sort of things, setting up a warehouse to stock it. It was a year and a half of work before we even sold our first order. And unfortunately, we launched into an economy that isn't very friendly right now. And my dad would always remind us, if you can do it in this economy,
then you could do it.
Wait till it gets good.
Yeah.
And he told me when he graduated high school and started taking over the company, he had the recession of '89 here, where nearly every company was under financial strain. And he's like, this is nothing compared to what I went through. It's always that story. I mean, the moon could fall. He's like, nothing compared to what I did.
He looks back on it and he's like, yeah, it was hard then, but it's easy now when I look back on it. I'm like, it's hard now. It's hard then. It's always hard.
It's always been hard. There's never been a moment where somebody's just woken up.
You don't want it to be easy. Trust me. If it's easy, then the monkeys are all out of the cages and everybody's doing it, right? That's
for sure.
You want it to be hard, right?
Well, that's one thing that makes us unique. I never look at what my competitors are doing. We always approach it to what can we do? What can we offer a client that's different? Right? And going back to Jordan's point earlier, there was tremendous pressure for us to produce certain exterior doors. Great example is the 2-panel raised. Okay? We would never make that for outside, simply because 2 pieces of wood have to be laminated to make those big panels.
Yeah.
One perfect example is I had a tiff with one of my neighbors. She was replacing her front door and she was hell-bent on that 2-panel. She wanted a wood door and it was 42 inches by 96. And she goes, hey, Rosemary, can you guys build me this door? And I go, what style is it? And it's our model number 780, right? A 3/4 panel and then a smaller one in the bottom. And I said, Anna, absolutely not. Oh, why? And she kind of took offense. And I said, because we just don't make that door for outside. Inside all day long. We did modify the version. We could do it with a flat panel, where we use one big piece of plywood as opposed to, laminated 2 raised pieces, and you'd have less of the expansion and contraction, right? She says, no, I want this one. I go, I can't help you out, but here, go to this guy or go to that guy. I gave her 3-4 other companies. So she went with one of our competitors, painted the door black, and within 6 months...
Wood door,
south-facing.
Hardwood door.
She came up to me. She came to the house, actually. She knocked on my door.
What happened? Like, what did it do?
Well, she came. She goes, can you come over to my house? I have to show you something. Okay. Well, we walked over to the house, and she goes, look at my door. I go, yeah, I could see the surface cracks, right? And the seam was opening up, right? And she goes, they gave me a defective door. And I go, no, Anna, they didn't give you a defective door. I told you that would happen. That's why I didn't want to produce that door. And I offered a modified version. We wouldn't be having this conversation, right? So the thing about Royal Door is we don't make product to appease someone. We make products to last. Like our products are like, our reputation is solid like our products. And if I have to say no, I'll say no.
There's reasons behind that.
Right? Because it will bite you back in it could be a few months, it could be a few years. And you can't really risk your reputation on that.
And especially in this age, one bad Google review, you don't know how much it affects. And
Google reviews.
I know, your favorite, I'm sure. But a lot of companies now aren't, they also don't test their products either. And that's one thing we did when we started making trim. We tested it. Trust me, we had some good clients who were like, look, you're going to be the first client here.
We called them our guinea pigs.
If it's complete garbage,
Well, it's good to tell them that.
We're not going to charge you.
We didn't charge them,
but
though.
give me a try on this house. And we made some mistakes. Granted, we made some mistakes. We learned quickly. Then we went on to the next one. And we didn't offer trim to the public till we did about 12 houses. And by the 12th one, we were like, okay, we got it down pat. We know what to do. This is how we do it. And we're good to go. And we often get, one thing we get a lot of requests are for custom profiles of trim. And I really want to...
Sure, buy the knives.
Yeah. I really want to talk about that. Our business model works around the profiles we have in there. We don't want to be cutting knives. We don't want to be storing knives for, future use. And we sell our casing. I'll tell you right now, our casing per lineal foot's $1.64 right now. Anyone comes in, it's $1.64 a lineal foot.
You like that,
Our
huh?
4 5/8 gems, $1.91 a lineal foot. And if it's a bigger order, we'll take 5% off. And I'll tell that it's literally, we literally send out
cheap.
a price list. This is
We're
what
very
we
cost
sell.
efficient.
And I'd love for you to come to our warehouse
Yeah,
and
I'd love
see
to
what
take a
we're,
look.
I'll give you a personal tour with
I
Rosemary.
miss the smell of wood.
Absolutely. And
You'll
we'll
love
give you
it.
a
You'll
tour.
get your full.
And I tell people the reason why the competition's charging, $1.85, $1.90 for casing, which I think is really what the industry kind of is at for similar quality, is because they will cut knives, they will do all this stuff. When we run it, we run 30, 40,000 lineal feet of casing and put it on the shelf. That's the difference between us. I will say no to a house lot and say, look, this is the closest that we have. As we expand, we may go into a bigger location. We may carry something similar, but this is what I have today. And that's why I can give you this price at $1.64.
You're building it off the back of quality.
Exactly.
Not quantity.
Exactly.
100%.
Simple as that,
and
right?
we aren't a good fit for every, if we walk into that site and they want a very custom profile that's not in our book, we tell them kindly, like, there are great companies that run trim locally. They've got a lead time, but they'll be able to do it. It'll be more expensive. If you still want to measure, we'll still do a measure and we'll recommend our closest. And they take our quote, then they go look around and then they'll get a quote, 20, 30, 40 cents a foot more plus a knife fee or something. Mm-hmm. And then lo and behold, they'll realize, well, they're also 6 to 8 weeks, we'll go with this option. And if you're honest and straight up, instead of saying, maybe let me try, and then you vary from your business plan, that's when you make a lot of mistakes. And we are very strict on what we do offer these customers, even on the custom trim side.
It shows, guys. It totally shows. I got to do the 12 questions. We got to wrap it up. I want to just find out from you guys, what's your favorite profile?
You first.
Not this one. This one.
You that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I picked it up at the beginning. I
there?
love this is our Colonial with our upgraded Colonial back band. This one here with some raised panel doors. It's a definition of class.
What would have been, or I guess, what your father-in-law, what would his been?
Oh, he was, unfortunately, he was very, very modern.
Really?
He would have loved flat stock, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Why was he? That's really fascinating to hear that.
Yeah, he built his own custom home. He built it about 40 years ago. My husband helped. And it was one of the most modern homes in Toronto.
Yeah, it was completely square. Everything was square, but he still put in nice red oak doors, but he stained them, and they've got like a green stain to them, and white marble floors. Like he was a very forward-thinking type of guy, but it's not modern that didn't hold up because there were a lot of details, like the floors, like the wood floors were cherry. Like he really put a lot of thought into the color, into the details, and that's why it's kind of held the test of time. So he would have probably liked the modern stuff.
It's interesting to hear that.
Well, he had a little bit of flair for the traditional one because we had some leftover wood pieces from walnut doors, cherry doors, and in his dining room, my father-in-law and my husband, they built the floor there, and then we had still leftover pieces, and they built the dining room floor in our home, which is amazing because they did beautiful patterns on it.
I like that. I like those little details.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. I got to do the 12 questions. www.royaldoor.ca, rosemary@royaldoor.ca, on IG, royal_door_LTD, and on Facebook and Pinterest, you'll find them. You guys ready for this?
Sure.
Did I send you? Probably.
No, you didn't send us anything.
Well,
Surprise to me.
Surprise
let's
us
do
all.
it.
They're not. It's not a quiz.
I did not
It's a quiz.
study.
It's more of a personality kind of question.
geez.
Sure.
A person you would trade places with for a day.
My mother-in-law.
I probably trade places with probably my dog. See what the perspective's like.
I like
Pee
that one.
anywhere?
I mean, listen, they just get to sit on the couch all day, man. Everyone wants to go do work. I'd like to just be a dog for a day.
It's like that, right? Guilty pleasure.
Chocolate.
Oh, anything sweet, like hot tamales.
Least favorite tool.
Hammer.
Hot tamales are sweet.
Well, they've cinnamon and they're sweet. I mean,
There's lots of sugar.
Go into my truck.
They're sugar-coated, man.
It's good. They stopped selling them in Canada. I got to order them from Amazon, you know?
That's not sad.
I mean, I was worried about the tariffs there. I wasn't going to be able to get them in.
Sorry, least favorite tool.
I said the hammer.
The hammer.
Flat tip screwdrivers.
Completely useless other than opening up paint cans.
Absolutely.
Americans invented that, no? Yeah, they're all
Pretty sure.
slotted guys.
Yeah.
Biggest risk you ever took?
Getting married.
I'm getting married shortly, so I'm not going to say that. Probably starting up this business.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Best compliment you guys ever got?
Quality second to none.
Stick to it. Stay with it.
I would say quality for sure.
Yeah? Favorite beverage?
Coors Light.
Coca-Cola.
I can't tell you the last time I had a pop.
I mean, I've got to go to the diet stuff now.
What never fails to make you guys laugh?
My husband.
I was going to say myself, but that's a great cocky.
You could say that.
You could say
There's
dad.
no rules. You think you're a funny guy? That's at least one.
No. My buddy Elliot, he's a pretty funny guy.
Funny guy. Worst piece of advice you guys ever got?
Don't listen to people that aren't in business for advice.
Yeah.
Growing up is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that one. Everyone when I was young. Grow up.
What
I don't know.
profession other than your own would you guys like to attempt one day?
Astronaut.
Me too. I would love to be out there.
I know.
I won't come back, but I would love to be out there.
I recently painted my main floor, and I know I might get some hate for this, but I'd love to be like a painter. Like, you know, there's something satisfying about painting a wall properly.
Until you paint Chantilly lace 1,000 times.
Well, I said maybe for a day.
Over. What's your favorite curse word?
F you.
Yeah.
Any you want to share? You can keep it clean. Don't worry.
Well, customers that do not follow the proper care and handling instructions, and then they have an issue with our product, and they say, you guys don't know how to make doors.
Favorite curse word? I don't want to. I don't know if I can say it here.
You can say anything on the show. It's up to you guys. I'm not going to force anybody to swear.
I'm a big fan of our one from Quebec, Tabarnak. That's probably one of my favorite. With a good French accent, that's a good one.
Tabarnak.
What's your favorite vehicle? Any mode of transportation?
Porsche 911.
Silver? No. White. Yeah.
White. Red seats.
Nissan GTR.
Oh, wait, go back. It has to be manual, though.
Well, they're offering that now.
I have a manual one.
Oh.
She just named her own car, and
I'm just glad that Porsche is actually recognizing that, you know, stick is an important thing.
Hell yeah. And you know what? I don't have to worry about people stealing it.
That's a good point, too, until they start learning how to do it.
Well, yeah.
Well, then they'll leave your driveway and it's just grinding gears.
Yeah, you'll hear them before they leave.
They don't make the Nissan anymore, do they? Or is
the
it
GTR, it's gone. It's gone. It was, I was 12 years old when it came out.
Cars that actually are nice.
Great cars.
I mean, at the end of the day, the electrification of cars, I don't think is the right way. I think I'll say it 100 times over. It's the hybrid model is going to be the way
hydrogen.
to go.
I'm waiting for hydrogen. But still, I'm going to want internal combustion. I don't care.
100%.
I want a stick shift internal combustion.
Well, there's a reason why that F-150 Lightning
No
didn't
electric?
sell.
I hate electric. I can't stand electric. I've coined EVs as FEVs. That's what I call them. Last question. If heaven exists, what would you guys like to hear God say when you arrive at those pearly gates?
You don't belong here.
Sorry?
You don't belong here.
Are you implying that you're supposed to go down?
No, I'm still supposed to stay here for a little longer.
Right.
It's too early.
I'd probably ask him, was I ever right in an argument with my significant other? And hopefully he'd turn around and say, at least once.
It's a dangerous question.
No, here's some marriage advice going on to 30 plus years of the same spouse. They're always right, and just let it be.
I'm not married. Never going to be in that planet, on that ship, near it.
Good.
Nothing.
Never say never.
Oh, Positive. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for bringing all the show and tell. I love all seeing that stuff. And I totally would love to come by a shop.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity.
It's been a blast meeting you guys and talking. I know that we postponed, and hopefully everything's all good now. And
everything's great.
Great. Yeah. Wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Great to meet you. And then I'd love to meet the rest of the family as well, too.
Absolutely. We'll set something up and
we'll reach out to us.
For sure.
Do that.
For sure, we'll do. Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.